do you mind if we start again? Because it's not just Rob now; it's you as well, Jason. You're you're doing that kind of thing.
My name's Arber, and welcome to this week's episode of the Formica Table podcast, where we'll be discussing episode 7 of Twin Peaks: The Return. As usual, I'm joined by Killer Rob and, mark my words, Walker. Rob, tell the fine folks about yourself.
Good evening, I'm Rob Valentine, and I am the weird hum in the corner.
I'm Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark. I've turned off the security camera. We can speak freely and privately.
So, episode 7. This was definitely the shot in the arm that the series needed. So, Rob, what did you think of it overall?
Okay, well, I've been getting increasingly worried that, like some resident of the Black Lodge, Twin Peaks Series 3 was going to feed off my pain and suffering for the whole rest of the run. So, I'm just so relieved that this was a bloody good episode. This was. I messaged you straight after saying I've just watched an episode of Twin Peaks. And I just watched an episode of Twin Peaks. So I'm a happy bunny this week.
Yeah, I think that explains it best. We must have been watching it more or less at the same time, because I sort of went to message both of you about it as well, and I saw what you'd written, Rob, which was precisely, I've just seen an episode of Twin Peaks, i.e. for the first time this year. I couldn't agree more.
So let's break it down, and we start the episode with Jerry Horn lost in the woods.
Yeah, I got a bit sentimental about seeing Ben and Jerry, I think. I remember there was an episode in the second series where they're sharing a prison cell, I think, and they were reminiscing about a girl they'd watched dancing with a flashlight.
You remember our first room, Ben? Me on the top bunk, and you on the bottom bunk. Louise Dombrowski dancing on the hook rug with a flashlight.
And I just think it's sort of touching that these two are still mooching about Twin Peaks.
Yeah, and I thought it was surprisingly funny. And when Jerry says, "I think I'm high," I actually laughed out loud.
Oh, no, that was fantastic. I cracked up at that.
I don't know whether this, him being lost in the woods is going to lead to anything, or it's just a little self-contained bit of nonsense. I have no idea, but I liked it.
Or is he going to stumble across 12 sycamore striplings and a puddle of engine oil?
The thing is, though, when Twin Peaks is running on all cylinders, it can hold scenes like that are just little vignettes in themselves.
Absolutely.
It's completely got the structural integrity to carry it, and this episode did. A lot of the ones we have seen so far in the series didn't, to be quite frank. This is what Twin Peaks does best, and this felt like going back to the good old days for that reason. What
made it work was that it was short, it didn't outstay its welcome, and it was really well acted. Everything was spot on, the comic timing, just everything was brilliant.
I think that's something that you could say as well about, in general, about this new series, is that, when you compare it to the sheer mountain-like power of the cast from the original series, there's barely a flaw in that original cast, and there have been definitely cracks in this new series. So it's easy to feel at home or in good hands when you're in the company of some of the original cast.
So we get our first really dramatic moment when we move over to the Twin Peaks Sheriff Department, and we've got Hawk and Frank looking at pages torn from Laura Palmer's diary.
This is what I found.
From Laura Palmer?
Yeah.
I just want to say something just about the juxtaposition between those two scenes, between the Great Northern Hotel and the Sheriff's Department. Just going from the Great Northern Hotel to the Sheriff's Department gave me a sort of warm and fuzzy feeling inside.
Same here. Immediately, I felt like this was the show.
Yeah.
just that transition, I felt exactly the same thing. Just seeing the exterior shot of the sheriff's office from the Great Northern, I thought, oh, okay, good, we're back in Twin Peaks.
So what's relayed in the pages from the diary is taken from Fire Walk with Me. So for people who are watching this who haven't seen the film Fire Walk with Me, this is going to be very kind of perplexing and confusing.
My name is Annie. I've been with Dale and Laura. The good Dale is in the lodge, and he can't leave. Write it in your diary.
And it turns out that she did.
I mean, I'm a peaky nerd, so my mind immediately went to that scene in Fire Walk with Me.
This scene was quite expositional.
It was very much so, and I love Hawk, but heaps of dialogue is not his strong suit. Plus, I mean, this kind of expositional dialogue is clunky enough for anybody. I think a very good actor can make that stuff sound decent, but Hawk's probably not that guy. And probably a bit of Badalamenti as well might have helped things along a little bit.
Also, I kind of think this should have been episode 1. Maybe we could have had this as late as episode 3.
It's a very good point. I think everything that you get in this episode, with a few tweaks. It's definitely true that there are some nuggets of information that we get from episode 1 to 6, but I feel this episode as a whole, I think, it's so strong, and there's a lot of exposition in there. We get caught up on a lot of things. There are catch-up moments in the dialogue. I just think there's, I left that episode thinking, why the hell couldn't we just have started with this, something like this, with this kind of intensity, and condensed, the first 6 episodes down to 2?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not necessarily begrudging those 6 episodes. They did have a lot of nice moments, but I think this whole episode felt like, okay, now, like, the train had been in the station for 6 episodes, and now, the whistle had gone and the train was moving, and it didn't really stop until we get the sweeping thing at the end. But apart from that, it was just plot point all the way through, and I loved it, and it just zipped by, and I didn't want it to end. It was
plot point, but it was also I think it went places where which were not to do with plot. They were emotional,
yes,
substantially emotional moments, which we'll come to, I guess, as we go along. The majority of the episode was real substance, which is something that we've lacked,
And as a whole, it really felt like a Twin Peaks episode.
It really did. I'm kind of resistant to a lot of tech in Twin Peaks, even though we're now in 2016 or 17, whenever this is set. There's a lot of Apple phones, and there's a lot of tech, and I think it's a little bit uneasy in Twin Peaks. And I've always been fond of that YouTube clip where Lynch goes on about watching movies on your phone.
Now, if you're playing the movie on a telephone, you will never in a trillion years experience the film. You'll think you have experienced it, but you'll be cheated. It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
But I think if you're going to have a Skype call in Twin Peaks, this was absolutely the way to do it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was another moment where I laughed out loud when he has a Skype call with Doc Hayward and lifts that kind of little branch thing or twig thing on his desk to make this screen covered in wood appear. I just found like it was the perfect Twin Peaks solution to a bit of technology appearing. It was absurd. It was funny.
It was very Lynchy. I can imagine him doing the sketches. I can almost see the Lynch sketches in his notebook for how that was going to work.
But obviously, the reason why we've got this Skype call is because obviously Warren Frost must have been exceedingly frail.
Yeah.
And rather like the phone calls with the log lady, I think these quite possibly were some of the first bits to be shot. Well, because I think they potentially knew that their cast were ill, and it's like, let's get them now. Let's shoot some stuff.
I think it's lovely. That they're in there. That they went to lengths to actually get them in the series. Particularly Catherine Coulson as well, because there's that whole story about Lynch that he told her. I think around the time they were shooting Eraserhead, he said to her, "One day we're gonna make a game show, and it's called Name My Log or something like that."
Yeah, test my log with every branch of knowledge.
That's right. Yeah. It's just something lovely about that kind of the way they've sort of grown together. I love it when directors have their sort of favorite actors or collaborators, and they kind of bring them along. And Lynch is absolutely one of those kind of filmmakers.
We did learn something potentially very, very interesting in this Skype call to the doc, which was that Coop went to the hospital after smashing his head on the glass at the end of the last episode of season 2. He didn't stay there very long, but Doc Hayward thought that he was going to visit Audrey, who was also in the hospital in a coma following the explosion at the bank, also at the end of season 2.
Tell me what you remember.
Well, we all knew, Coop, that morning he was acting mighty strange.
What was he doing in intensive care?
I thought at the time he might have been looking in on Audrey Horn. That terrible business at the bank, and she was in a coma.
And it made me think, oh my God, is this how Richard Horn came to be? Because he'd be the right age if Bad Coop...
Oh God, what a satanic thought.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, fucking hell.
But it did make me think, if the doc is saying...
Son of Bob. Dick, son of Bob.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, that's a terrifying thought.
It is, yeah. I mean, I don't know whether that'll come to pass, but that was, my habit of taking things and going, I wonder if that fits over there, because
which is exactly what he did.
Jesus. But when you've got a short scene with Doc Hayward, which jokes about 2 trout in his pajamas aside, but if he's saying something like that, I feel like that is an important plot point that we should be paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the first mention of Audrey, I think, in this season of Twin Peaks so far.
Interesting to note that actually with the Skype call, that I think the majority of this series was sort of worked out between Frost and Lynch on Skype, because they were both living opposite ends of the country. I just wonder if maybe Lynch sort of became infatuated with it, as he often does with like bits of technology and things.
Yeah, well, I found the Skype call really poignant anyway, simply because Skype is a great modern way that really old people can stay in touch and connected. And having Doc Hayward on Skype, within the show and outside of the show is poignant. And so I just thought it just worked. It worked both ways.
After that, we've got Andy and the truck. And I have to say, I loved Andy in this scene. It felt like the old Andy that I loved. He wasn't being like overly stupid and goofy. He was just being Andy, the police guy. Although I do kind of question his policing methods, because if this is the truck that is, known to have kind of plowed down a child, you impound it. You don't say, okay, I'm going to meet you 2 hours later, to the guy who obviously lent it to Richard Horn. I mean, it worked great in the plot, but I think there's probably a lot of police watching this, just rolling their eyes, going, "My God, what are you doing? Just bring this guy in for questioning and impound the vehicle."
I think if there are lots of police getting those sort of policing tips from FBI Tibetan method, it would worry me. I think I prefer that the police are not watching this and they're just out doing their job. Yeah.
Okay. Point taken. But yeah, clearly the young farmer guy who owned the truck seemed to be particularly perplexed.
I can't talk to you about this here. I told you, please go away.
You kind of get the impression, after Andy's waiting for him to turn up and he doesn't show, that something perhaps terrible has happened to this guy. Very ominously, at the open door, the camera dollying in.
Yeah, I don't get at the moment any real significance of that subplot. It's one of the things that, okay, fine, I'll just take it on faith that this is going somewhere, but there's no meat there to bite into yet. It's just, okay, something will unfold, I guess.
One potential bit of meat, although I must admit that I'm slightly dubious about this, is that when Andy agrees to meet him, it's at 4:30.
4:30 then. Please leave now.
And 430 was one of the sequences of numbers that were part of the Giant's clue. Richard and Linda, 4:30, two birds with one stone.
I think we can safely say that Jason works, hard enough for all three of us on this stuff.
Oh, yeah. I feel kind of really relaxed and comfortable about putting in zero effort. So, yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm slightly dubious about this one. I'm not so confident because part of me is going, well, how would Cooper know about this 4:30 thing? So I feel like the clues have to be something that Cooper would know. So it's just that because I've got the clues in the back of my mind, if something triggers it, then I pay attention to it.
Gentlemen, when two separate events occur simultaneously pertaining to the same object of inquiry, we must always pay strict attention.
After Twin Peaks, we go back to Buckhorn, and Lieutenant Cynthia Fox visits Detective Dave Mackley to talk about the fingerprints. And she's assuming that they've just been lifted from a crime scene, and she's very surprised to discover they have a body.
There's a body?
There's a body, all right.
So they go and visit the body, and it's confirmed that it is Major Briggs. So no question about that, although he's in his late 40s rather than in his 70s. That whole thing was just very, very strange and perplexing. And when Lieutenant Fox goes into the corridor to tell her boss about what's happening, we see the weird black covered sooty guy walk down the corridor with electrical buzzing sounds.
Not quite Mulholland Drive behind the back of the diner creepy, but pretty damn creepy.
Interestingly, when you compare what that guy looks like with the lumberjack from above the convenience store, the guy who's got the fake beard.
Mm-hmm. That's right, and he's slapping his thigh.
Yeah, he's wearing the same red beanie, the same knitted hat. So I wonder if that's related in some way.
Yes, and that, of course, is the room with the Formica table.
It is.
The titular Formica table.
So what did you think, Rob?
Again, with that strand, I keep feeling like we're encountering characters discovering stuff that we, the audience, already know. That's my problem with it. It's like, by this point, it's like, yeah, it's Major Briggs. Can we just all accept it's Major Briggs and take some kind of action, please? But yeah, that's my only bugbear with that part of the plot. At this stage, I'm kind of thinking, we could have potentially started that whole plot strand with that scene.
That's how I felt with so much of actually what we saw in this episode, because it was so dense and it coupled with the fact that a lot of it sort of felt emotionally substantial as well. It just felt stronger and tighter, and exactly like as you say with this scene, you could absolutely have started there. I can't think of another example, but I felt like that several times throughout this episode. With the page, the Laura Palmer diary pages as well.
Yeah, I just confirm the guy who plays Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo movies, who's currently in prison. Are we ever going to see him again, or was that just part of getting us to Major Briggs's body getting pulled out of a tray in a morgue?
I hope to God we do, because I really, really loved his acting in that. And if we don't visit him again, I think it'd be a real shame, because I think there was a lot of interesting stuff that could go on in his story.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel if we don't, then yeah, it's a very weird technique, and I just felt that time could have been better spent somehow. But anyway, that's just me. But yeah, that doesn't take away from this episode. For me, it just goes on to prove that this episode, could have been in a way. This could have been episode 1 of the new Twin Peaks
with a tweak here and there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I mean, we could have set up that Laura Palmer's letters have been discovered, and then left Twin Peaks for 3 or 4 episodes. But it would have lit a fire underneath all the other stuff we'd then be watching. Just like the original discovery of Laura Palmer dead by the lake did.
Because essentially, there were sort of very limp kind of attempts to sort of return us to Twin Peaks, which was like a sort of non-consequential conversation with Ben and Jerry and Dr. Jacoby and the deliverer of his shovels. That stuff. It felt like that was kind of dropped in to sort of just so we knew for sure that we were back watching a series of Twin Peaks and not anything else.
But if Laura's letters had been discovered before those scenes,
exactly, yeah,
I would have watched them in a completely different way. I'd have observed every detail, in a completely different way. It would have lit a fire under the whole thing.
Next, we have a bit of Gordon Cole whistling. I did notice that he had a picture of an ear of corn in his office, which is it pain and suffering in his office? Because creamed corn is Garmonbozia.
Yeah, and he was whistling in front of a mushroom cloud. Now, immediately, I felt we were on safe ground again there.
Well, as soon as Gordon Cole's in the frame, I'm happy as well.
Oh yeah,
and especially when we get a bit of Albert as well.
I said, hello, Diane. She said, this is about Cooper, isn't it? I said, maybe. She said, and I quote, no fucking way. Oh! I was at home, dripping wet on the verge of pneumonia 15 minutes later. How was your evening, Chief?
Within that scene, the 2 things I love is the way that Albert just stands in his suit. It's always like he's about to jump on you.
Yes.
And the other thing I love is the fact that it seems that Gordon's hearing is selectively bad.
Yeah, that was lovely. That was a lovely little touch. It's like, yeah, you heard me.
Yeah, and only Albert knows it.
FBI champ, friends of Diane.
The scene in Diane's place, I think, started to give you a little bit more of Diane's personality. She seems very, very bitter about Coop. She seems very, very bitter about the FBI in general.
Yeah, no, you're right. That stuff's important, and also it kind of lends some sort of there's clearly some pain there for her, and so it, her sort of reluctance to go to Coop and to be involved with these guys again, lends some kind of a weight to what follows.
We end up on the plane. And a couple of interesting things there. We get Tammy revealing that Coop's or the bad Coop's fingerprints have been reversed.
Yeah, that's interesting. So almost like the denizens of the Black Lodge are kind of reverse mirror images.
Yeah, or at least the doppelgangers are mirror images.
Also because there's so much of Twin Peaks has been about mirrors. Literally, you've got Laura and Maddie, and you see Bob when Leland looks in the mirror. Always this kind of mirror images. It kind of runs throughout it runs pretty central throughout the series.
We get a confirmation of what tipped off Gordon Cole, where the greeting Gordon Cole mentioned was wrong, and that's because Bad Coop reversed one of the veries. He said Erev rather than very.
It's Erev, very good to see you again, old friend.
It's very, very good to see you again, old friend.
He gets Tammy to hold out her hands and counts on her fingers.
I'm very, very happy to see you again, old friend. This is the spiritual mound, the spiritual finger. You think about that, Tammy.
One of the veries is on the spiritual finger, and that was the one that was reversed by Bad Coop. That's the thing that tipped off Gordon Cole that the greeting was off slightly.
That maybe he's spiritually corrupted or something.
Gordon Cole's good, isn't he? Yeah, to get that. But then again, he's been doing Blue Rose cases for years.
And so we end up at Yankton Federal Prison, Sioux City. And I liked the little exchange between Diane and Tammy where she says,
What'd you say your name was again? Tammy. Fuck you, Tammy.
Yeah.
I just clearly Diane does not like Tammy at all.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
And then we get super creepy pitched down Coop again, which I never have a problem with. But that was...
Yeah, I mean, I just became so grateful for Laura Dern. I think she's absolutely phenomenal. And
she is a great actress,
yeah.
Although I did have a little kind of warning, gawky neck muscle action, which we did see a lot of.
We're not going to talk about gawky neck muscles. No, I just think that, you know, I think that the Laura Palmer diary pages were, as you said, Rob, or the body on the beach wrapped in plastic moment for this new series. And I think this scene with Diane and Cooper, or Mr. C, for me, it's just the suddenly the series just found its emotional center.
Yes, yeah.
Clearly they're ex-lovers or something, and you know, I think Twin Peaks always at its center because it was a soap opera essentially. You know, there was always matters of the heart at the center. It didn't matter if it was Cooper and Audrey or James and Donna, Bobby, Shelley. Those things were always so central, I think, and that we haven't had any of that. You know, so it was nice to have some hint of something here. You know, and family as well, because this kind of ragtag bunch of FBI employees are kind of a family of sorts. You know, we've been with them now for some years, so yeah. So that's Twin Peaks for me. It's matters of the heart. It's family. It's kind of creeping under your skin, freak you out, mess up your head moments. And we've not had much of. We've had some kind of freaky moments, but we've not had much of the other two. And this scene had all of those things. So. You know, I remember after that scene, I did something which I haven't done so far this series, which was I looked at the clock, and I looked because I wanted to see how much time is left because I was hoping there was going to be more.
Yeah, I was the same.
Because I was enjoying it so much, and I didn't want the episode to end. And I probably did that every episode of Twin Peaks, the original series. But this is the first time I did that here.
Yeah, I became very, very curious to know what went on between Diane and Cooper, and whether it was an experience between Diane and the good Coop or Diane and the bad Coop, because it obviously bad Coop, because he's a doppelganger, probably knows what the original Cooper knew, you know, like FBI skills.
Mm-hmm. Well, he obviously does know certain things, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he knows what the appropriate greeting should be, even though he got it wrong, and he's clearly recognizes all these people, so he does have that knowledge. Clearly something has happened. Super creepy bad Coop was...
Are you upset with me, Diane?
What do you think?
I think you're upset with me.
And he's so flat and emotionless, and
It was real tour de force stuff, I think, from both of them. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I was thinking the difference between evil Coop, who feels like he's very much in control and he's very calm all the time, and Bob, who is this kind of like gleefully maniacal, cackling, you know, gurning, kind of crazy demon like thing. It's a different kind of evil, and I like the fact that they're not trying to replicate, you know, like a new Bob. You know, they have like a different kind of evil, a more colder and calculating evil.
Yeah, although I did think this time, I wonder if his hair is kind of an approximation of Frank Silver's hair.
Yeah, I think they're definitely pushing it in that direction. You know, like Frank, or rather Bob, the character, had his denim jacket, and Coop's got his leather jacket. You know, it's all of those kind of like, you know, inverted commas, bad boy outfits that
we all own.
Yeah, which I'm wearing now.
Who are you?
I don't know what you mean, Diane.
What did you think, Rob?
No, I thought this scene was fantastic, and I kind of hope we don't learn the specifics, because just leaving it to your imagination is far worse. The impression I got was that Bad Coop looked her up and some terrible act of sexual violence took place. That's the way I see it, and I loved Lynch's direction in this scene as well. It got a little bit Jonathan Demme in the way.
I was thinking about Silence of the Lambs too.
Yeah, because suddenly Laura Dern, when she says, you know, who are you?
Yeah.
It's almost straight to camera, which is exactly what Demme does in the Lecter Clarice scenes. But Laura Dern is incredible, and again, it's this scene that, I mean, Bad Coop's been fantastic so far, but it's this kind of knowledge of him that really elevates the whole show. It would have been great to have had it earlier. I think that's just my running theme on this one, but this was so good, and this one just heightens everything so much. It's like someone's added MSG to the mix. You know, everything's just tasting better now because of this episode. So
I remember you said, Rob, earlier on that you and I sort of concurred with you that you had some reservations about Kyle MacLachlan doing this role. You know, this particular version of Cooper. But for me, that stuff was erased with this scene. Any reservation I had about him doing this stuff, it's gone.
Oh yeah, for me it went a couple of episodes ago. I think it may have something to do with I'm not a huge fan of his bad boy outfit. I kind of think he doesn't wear it well. But that may get him in his prison duds, and that problem's next. But no, I thought he was fantastic. I think we're going to get onto his next scene with the chief warden, or the guy who runs the prison and all that. But he's fantastic in this.
So Diane kind of stomps out of the prison, feeling very, very upset
and violated somehow.
Yeah, and Gordon Cole catches up with her, and she expresses that it's not about how much time has gone by or anything like that, and it's in her heart. She knows it in her heart that this is not Coop.
For me, this sort of underscored that previous scene beautifully, and it was very touching somehow. Also because you know how close Laura Dern and David Lynch are, and they share this scene. But she really underscored with her performance, which I won't hear a word said against Laura Dern. I do think she's absolutely phenomenal, and she's been.
Oh no, she's a fantastic actress.
She's been the strongest thing in this series, I think, so far, just in that episode. But anyway, but also she gets a lot. I mean, she's quite fortunate in that she gets a lot to do in this episode as well. But I think just her. I think she communicates brilliantly this sort of creeping realization that whatever that was, it wasn't Cooper. You know, that whatever that thing was sitting there talking to her wasn't Cooper. And I get goosebumps now talking about, and it's beautifully abstract to say, you know, it wasn't what he said, or it wasn't him in his heart.
Yeah, just reinforcing what Cole and Albert know themselves. They just needed this extra bit of confirmation.
It was the most substantial couple of scenes, I think, in the whole thing so far. So loved it. I hope she doesn't stay away for long.
Yeah, I feel quite confident that this is not the last we've seen of Diane. I don't think she's going to go off and go back to being a cougar with young men.
Yeah, because I mean, I think her appearance has just made this series come alive for me, anyway.
Get Bad Coop saying that he needs to talk to Warden Murphy about a strawberry, and he gets that meeting, and clearly he's got a bit of Dirt on Warden Dwight Murphy. I think the main takeaway is that our our cool, calm, collected evil Coop has got this planned.
Yeah.
Almost like he wanted to be arrested and he wanted to be taken to this prison.
Yeah.
And he knew that he had this dirt on the warden, and he was going to be able to leverage that to get him and Ray Monroe out of the prison.
I want a car. Cheap rental, if you like. For myself and Ray Monroe. I want a friend in the glove compartment. 1 a.m. tonight. Smooth and safe.
And if not, remember the dog legs. So from Yankton Federal Prison, we go to Las Vegas Coop, and we see Anthony Sinclair, Tom Sizemore, and he's trying to get Coop to talk to him, but Coop is just scribbling and not talking to a very disconcerted Anthony Sinclair.
What were you and Bushnell discussing earlier? I saw you walking to his office carrying a bunch of files.
Again, I really, really love the performance of Naomi Watts. She's rapidly becoming one of my favourite characters in this. Just the way she just kind of like stomps around, taking no shit.
Did you report your car as a stolen vehicle?
No, he did not report it stolen. I would know. His car went missing. We haven't seen it. Isn't that your department?
The police officers are really kind of like none the wiser because she keeps butting in rather than letting Rain Man Coop just repeat phrases. And I loved it. Another little thing that I really loved was that the trio of police officers that turned up all had the surname Fusco. There was Detective T. Fusco, played by Larry Clark, Detective Smiley Fusco, played by Eric Edelstein, and then from Anchorman, David Koechner played Detective D. Fusco. So when they introduced themselves, I think he said, "We are Detectives Fusco."
I did not pick up on that.
No, me neither. Then again, I tend to glaze over the Dougie stuff now. I think
me too.
It's like, oh, okay, here we are.
I mean, honestly, that scene after what we just went through, it feels like paper thin. You know, it's like just feathers floating around. It's the buzzing of flies to me.
I know what you're talking about there. Yeah.
Well, for me, Dougie is like, the stages of grief. Where, you go through anger and all of these things.
Was it grief, anger? It's anger, denial, bargaining, Rain Man. It's not in there. I'm pretty sure it's not in there.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm at the point where it's just acceptance, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to accept Dougie, and I'm just going to go along for the ride. And it's massively frustrating, but
I don't know, Jason. You seem to be enjoying it in some sort of perverse way.
Well, I think it started from the previous episode where I just relaxed into it. And
don't fight it.
We can rail against it only so much, but we're going to have to live with it. And so
I'm not so sure anymore, though, because those kung fu moves, those Jason Bourne moves, seem to signal for me a major foot forwards for...
Yeah, here's the thing to think about. Let's say this was your average episode of New Twin Peaks. This amount of Dougie, I could live with. It's just that we've had so much.
Yeah, I could just about stomach that.
Yeah, and also, this little Dougie sequence actually has a payoff.
Yes.
When he's attacked. Well, so if this is the amount of Dougie we could reasonably expect every week, then I think I'd tolerate Dougie way more, and I'd enjoy his scenes way more.
Mm-hmm.
But we've just been whacked around the head with him for hours. It feels like.
Yeah, I put my hand up and say we've had way too much of Rain Man Coop. Absolutely, we have.
Yeah, we have figuratively been just pinned to the ground and karate chopped in the neck by him for weeks now. So.
Well, I know that we're all itching to talk about Coop springing into action when Ike the Spike, who clearly, now his spike has bent, has been forced to resort to a gun to try and assassinate Coop. And wow, instincts take over.
Yeah, that was a relief.
He pushes Janie E to one side and just gets on with it.
I came. No, I thought, thank God, something's happening.
Yeah, my reaction was, hallelujah. We have some kind of conflict and progression that Dougie's involved in. And actually, for the first time, Dougie is an active participant in what's going on. And the funny thing is, with the first Austin Powers film, they had scenes of Mini-Me beating up Austin, and they weren't funny. But in the first sequel, you've got Austin Powers beating up Mini-Me, and for some reason, if a little person is beating up a big person, that's not funny. But a big person beating up a little person, for some reason, it shouldn't be funny. But I found that scene really, it worked on me. I thought Dougie beating up this horrible little assassin was hilarious.
All things considered, the man from another place got off fairly lightly, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I love the continual karate chops to the throat. And the fact that...
let's face it, though, he deserved them, didn't he?
Yeah, and the fact that Janie E joined in as well and was trying to throttle him at the same time as well.
Yeah, and then the evolution of the arm pops up through the pavement and tells him to...
Squeeze his hand off! Squeeze his hand off!
That was insane, really. I was having a bit of an overload there. That reminded me of of things like the dog running away with the hand after the shootout in the bank in Wild at Heart, stuff like that. He loves that kind of comedy gore stuff.
They sew them things back on. Works good as new.
I can't find it. Where is the damn thing?
Gotta be in here somewhere.
Disappointingly, rather than snap into back to his old FBI self, he seems to revert back to Rain Man Coop.
Yeah, my hope, though, is that this represents some kind of crisis for him, because here's the thing, do we need Dale back now? Or do we just need to see less of Dougie until such time as Dale Cooper becomes a useful character?
Yeah.
Well, it's like you said with the Major Briggs plot thread. It's like we're watching people finding out stuff that we already know. And we know where this Dougie Jones thing is going. The only thing is that we have to fucking watch it. Sorry, Jason. I know that you've got... I feel bad now because I know that...
No. Me saying I'm just enjoying a few of these Dougie scenes does not necessarily imply I want to see more of them. It's just that if we're going to have them, let's have them short, sweet, to the point. Not like in the casino where it seemed like 2 hours of him saying hello and putting money in the slots.
Or that sort of half an hour of him filling out insurance claims with Lynchian scribbles.
Yeah. Overly long stuff like we got in this episode, just right.
Yeah.
Something curious as well was after the attack, there seemed to be lots of news crews around, and I'm just wondering whether news of this might go as far as Twin Peaks.
Yeah, that's how I read it. I kind of thought, yeah, he's going to be seen on TV now, and then that's going to get back to the FBI.
So that's the point of it.
Yeah.
I like that, actually. I like that sort of mad... I mean, it was very un-Twin Peaks-like, but I sort of like that kind of mad, sort of to the camera, sort of journo camera. Sort of.
Yeah, the vox pops. Yeah, he smelled funny. Yeah, that was all good.
Right, after that, we go back to the Great Northern, and we have the weird hum, which Ben and Beverly are trying to identify where it comes from. I don't know if anybody noticed, it was a very similar hum to when the giant appears.
I will tell you 3 things. If I tell them to you and they come true, then will you believe me?
I thought it was a lovely scene, this one.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yes.
It was my second favourite scene of the episode. Insane chemistry between Ben Horne and this new character Beverly.
I found it very interesting that the normally very, very flirty Ben is trying to get her out of the building whilst she is clearly flirting with him.
Yes, he was being very well behaved and respectful, but undeniable chemistry off the scale.
Yeah, Ashley Judd was amazing in this.
Right, that's who it is, of course. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I guess the point of it was to get that key business, but lovely kind of roundabout tangent with the sound, and which may or may not pay off later, and this and the way they played it as well was very relaxed.
It was so beautifully done, and it was the kind of scene that you could have so easily found in the original series.
Easily, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Now it sounds like it's coming from over there. No?
It sure does.
And can I tell you my reading of Ben Horne in this, which I'm probably wrong about this, but I find it quite sweet. Is I like the idea that he's always been a big womanizer, but I like to think that he now considers himself too old, and can't imagine that she doesn't. And that's just based on that scene, that one scene. That was my reading. I thought, and he actually properly likes her, but couldn't possibly imagine it being reciprocated. That's the way I saw it.
I got the impression that he was. I definitely got the impression that he was lonely.
Yes, he's.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's divorced or his wife's died, or. Yeah, I can see that. I didn't think of it at the time, but now you say it, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my. I think it could have been my favourite scene in the episode, but strangely, the key returning was not. And then its discovery was not as exciting as it getting posted by Jade.
But I think we got such a lovely scene out of it.
Yeah. I kind of think almost we didn't need the key into that scene. That scene could have just been about them. But
yeah.
I think the importance of the key will have greater importance later on.
I just worry it's one of those really frustrating things where you're just waiting for the character to remember to do something about it because to them it's not a priority, and that's just gonna. It's one of those suspense things that just drives me nuts.
But at the same time, you don't want to overplay it. You don't want him to get the key and go, "Oh my God, room 315! I must take this immediately to the sheriff."
Absolutely, yeah.
I almost thought it was a bit much that after like 25 years, he kind of went...
Room 315. Wait a minute. I think that was the room where Agent Cooper was shot.
Who's Agent Cooper?
FBI.
I found that a bit of a stretch.
But at the same time, if he goes 315, no idea what that is, and just chucks it to one side, then we're not doing anything with it.
The little bum note I did get was him recalling the name Laura Palmer.
He was here, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago, investigating the murder of Laura Palmer.
I just felt a little bit like he was treating it like a distant memory that.
You think he was a bit too wistful and
No, I think it felt almost like it was too much of an effort of recall.
Right.
When it actually should be no. That was. It doesn't matter if it's 25 years ago. That was Laura Palmer.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that should hang. It hangs over the community like a cloud.
And I actually think the scene is further enhanced by the next scene that you get with Beverly going home.
So her husband Tom is obviously quite clearly ill. He's suspicious of her, and she's clearly frustrated or resentful even about his illness. Just in that one scene, you could see a whole backstory.
Why are we late?
I had some things to do. Would you like your dinner?
What things?
I had some work to do. Some things came up and I needed to do them.
You get a lot of information, yeah, without it being,
too expositional.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if it was just me, but just prior to going to see Beverly's home life, we got a weird kind of like push in, a kind of like dolly into the wood in that corner, and it made me think of Josie being
I thought
trapped.
about Josie as well. Yeah, being trapped in the doorknob or the drawer knob or whatever.
Yeah, the drawer handle, yeah.
Do you know, I was half expecting that to actually become a moment. Like, I was expecting, what is Josie, are we going to get a little...
Yeah.
A little... so are we going to get some little echo of that?
After this, we get David Lynch's middle finger to the audience, which is having the sweeping scene played along to Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs, which goes on for, how long did it go on for, Mark?
130 seconds.
Yeah.
But I didn't receive it as a middle finger actually so much. I found myself sort of pleasantly hypnotized.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I really I did enjoy it. Although I was like half expecting the credits to start rolling at any minute.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mark, did you go back and check? But I was sure he'd missed a spot on the far right of the screen. Just like one tiny little bit of sawdust or something he'd missed.
Was your anal retentiveness, your OCD couldn't take it?
Yeah.
I would probably see a therapist about that.
Yeah, I can't tell you how painful that was. That's like the shower scene in Psycho, but oh yeah, it was touch and go for a second there, but I got through. Yeah.
I was definitely thinking about his technique. I was kind of assessing that. He's going to move the chair out. I see he's sliding the chairs as he goes.
Yeah. I was upset that he just moved one chair out and didn't move them all out, but maybe there weren't cigarette butts behind the other chairs. Who knows?
Considering how long that moment lasted, I didn't get any cumulative benefit of it. I mean, Jason, a few weeks ago you mentioned the bank vault scene with Mr. What's his name, and just how Lynch just stops the episode. It's the final episode of season 2. He just stops the episode to see this old guy walking back and forth, forgetting what he's doing, and it's hypnotic. This was not in that league, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh no! I found, watching the old bank dude kind of shuffle, from one side of the bank to the other side, was hysterically funny. This was just, as Mark said, just hypnotic. Just watching a guy sweeping. It didn't have that kind of comedy value to it.
As with the bank scene in the last episode, I do wonder if this is filler. It's like, we got a loose couple of minutes here. We need to pad it out a little bit.
At least give the guy a wooden leg or something. If you're going to do that, it's David Lynch. Give the guy a disability and have him sweep up.
Yeah, exactly. Give him a peg leg or something.
I was pleasantly surprised to see the credits didn't roll, but we got a phone call instead, and Jean-Michel Renaud.
Jean-Michel, thank you.
Yes.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, who's clearly a twin brother of Jacques Renaud.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going about, Twin Peaks.
Clearly, they're still in the prostitution game, and it's going strong with 15-year-old girls.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was nice having him back. It really did feel like Twin Peaks again. He's one of those familiar faces and voices that just...
Yeah, with that kind of like drawly French-Canadian accent.
Roadhouse has been owned by the Renault family for 57 years. We're not going to lose it now because of a couple of 15-year-old straight A students. No.
Yeah. So, yeah, that again, there was another moment in this episode where I felt like, yeah, we're back home now.
So after that, we're back to Yankton Federal Prison, and we see Bad Coop and Ray Monroe leave the prison.
One thing that occurred to me actually is, does Evil Cooper have black contact lenses that cover his entire and bad teeth as well?
Yeah, I read an interview with Carl McLachlan where he talked about the costume choices, and he is wearing contact lenses. He's had his skin treated to make him feel kind of like more oily, and his fingernails are dirty and his teeth are yellowing. So all of those things are being done deliberately to, just kind of creep you out slightly and give him those kind of like shark eyes.
You know the thing about a shark? He's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
It's a subtle thing, but it really helps unnerve you.
It's the first time I've noticed it, actually, this time. Yeah, or at least the first time I sort of consciously noticed it.
But I think it's probably been working on all of us subconsciously, with it, his eyes being off kilter somehow, but you're not 100% sure why. He gets his wish. He gets the car. He gets Ray, and he makes his escape. And that is after Gordon Cole said,
"Hold this man till you hear from us.
whatever you do, don't let him go. Shoot anyone that comes down this corridor, including me. That didn't happen.
We wrap up this episode with a bizarre scene in the Double R diner.
Hey! Has anybody seen Billy?
The guy who rushes in and says, somebody seen Billy, is a character called Bing, played by Riley Lynch, who we saw at the Roadhouse.
Who was playing guitar.
Only this time he's got a beard. So
no, it made me think about that last scene of Sopranos.
Oh, in the restaurant.
In the restaurant at the end, before he gets whacked, you see, he's just sitting there and he's checking out the whole restaurant or cafe, whatever it is, diner, and looking at every single person. And I found myself doing that because I was thinking, is something going to happen here? Even when the credits were rolling, it had me on tenterhooks. I was, is something going to happen? Are we missing something?
Yeah, all we had was Heidi's giggle, really.
Heidi's giggle, yeah.
But I wonder if we can draw any conclusions from the music that was being played, which was Santo and Johnny's Sleepwalk. Whether it was just like a nice musical choice because it echoed the 50s, or whether the title itself had any relevance to the plot.
Jason, you seem like you're wanting to kind of divulge some theory.
No, I have no theory about it. I picked up on the title and was like, Sleepwalk. That's kind of interesting. That could have some relevance. Or conversely, it might just be, one of Lynch's favourite tracks from the 50s. Who knows? Because the diner seems to be stuck in 1956 or something.
Yeah. And long may it stay stuck.
But yeah, we watched an episode of Twin Peaks, guys.
We totally did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the point now where we talk about our hopes for the future.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
I'd say it's moving. It's been one really good episode of the standard that I would have hoped for and I would have expected. Please God, let's keep this momentum, because that was more like it.
I'm hoping the same, that the rocket has now been lit and is heading into the sky. I really just want to see, because Lynch is, as we've mentioned countless times, Lynch is treating this as an 18-hour movie that is just almost arbitrarily sliced. And we've had our first act where all the chess pieces were being put into place. Now, in this second act, let's start putting our characters in jeopardy. Let's start having interesting things happen with the plot.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's all about sort of knuckling down with the stuff that's been established. Stop dancing about all over the place. Let's knuckle down with these characters, and let's make a meal of this meat that's been laid on the plate.
Yeah, Sheriff Truman with Laura's letters now has a case. The bad Dale is back on the road. Dougie is on the news, and
the FBI know that the coup that's in the real world is not the good coup. And now the guys in Twin Peaks know that the guy who came out of the lodge 25 years ago was not the good coup. So, I feel like things are starting to converge a little bit. You've got several sets of people approaching the same problem from different angles.
I remember actually, when we started this podcast, we were talking about what we hoped for, having at that point not seen a frame of this stuff. And I realise now that probably the Twin Peaks Series 3 that I had in my head for 25 years was something more like this.
Well, I think personally for me, when I kind of pull back and take the wider view, I think a lot of people had in their heads what a season 3 of Twin Peaks would be like. And I'm kind of secretly pleased that I don't think anybody was right. That's it for this episode of the Formica Table podcast. Next week we'll be looking at episode 8 of Twin Peaks The Return, and sharing our thoughts, opinions, and theories, because there's nothing quite like urinating in the open air. Until then, let's rock. So, have you got a horse with you?
That was my impersonation of Heidi. That's what I've got.
My advice, stick to David Bowie.